guys, good morning. I am walking back home from taking Kendall to school in our little small town. It's not but maybe an 8-minute walk to take her to school, and she wanted to walk this morning on her first day. And I want to tell you what, change is not easy. Change is not easy for adults. Sometimes we go kicking and screaming when God tells us to go to new places or to a new job or to just something different. Change is hard. It's not easy. But sometimes that's when God's got to stretch us out of our comfort zone. And this morning, Kendall's been very anxious about going to school. Very, very anxious. We were very comfortable with the school she was at. It was a complete godsend. We loved it. And, you know, going to a place where it's unfamiliar, where we don't know the people, she doesn't know anybody at the school, that's a scary thing for a kid. That's very scary. It can be a scary thing for an adult. For somebody getting ready to go off to college, it can be very scary going to a place of complete unknown and uncertainty. I want to challenge you this morning. Don't run everywhere else and let your fear completely overtake you. Run to your knees. Run straight to your knees, because one thing that I'm learning, God loves our kids just as much as He loves us. He's the same God to them as He is to us. He's the same God to them as He was to Moses when He split the Red Sea. He was the same God that was Jesus in the flesh in the boat when the seas were stormy and the disciples were afraid. Jesus was with them. In our family devotional time last night, we were reading about that. I believe it's in Mark. I'm drawing a blank on what book it was in. Anyway, but we were talking about how, you know, Jesus calms us. He may not calm the storm around us, but he calms us in the middle of the storm. Well, in this particular situation, He calmed the storm. He got up and He said, "Peace, be still," and it was still. I just want to encourage you this morning to let Jesus speak to your heart and to calm you. Whether He calms the storm around you or not, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. He's with you in the middle of the storm. He's with you. And we've got to start challenging our kids to trust in Jesus instead of letting their fears completely overtake them. There's so many people on anxiety medication and all this medication. I'm not saying that's wrong. Medication is great. God has really blessed people with the knowledge to form this medication. I've got a friend that's in pharmaceutical studies like that, and she forms the medication. That's great. But we've got to learn to trust Jesus. Trust the King of our hearts. We've got to trust Him. And last night we talked to Kendall about it. We talked this morning on the way to school. I was talking to her about Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Doesn't matter what you're going through this morning. Trust in Jesus to get you through it. Kendall this morning, I hate to say that I'm shocked. I'm not going to say that I don't trust God, because I do. We've asked friends and family to pray for her and just help us to get through this transition with her, because school has been my biggest fear, because she's so nervous about it. And I understand that. It's a very scary thing. This morning we walked to school. She was okay. We're talking, we're talking about Philippians 4:13. We're talking about trusting God. He's always there with you. You know, that everything's going to be okay. We get into the classroom. I'm thinking she's going to be clung on, real tight to me and not wanting to let go. She just had this peace about her. She just had this peace. It was the most beautiful thing to me as a mom to watch my daughter, who was so anxious about something, to have this peace. I know it was from God. I know it was His peace that wrapped around her this morning. And she teared up a little bit when I got ready to leave. I told her I was going to wait outside the classroom to make sure she was okay, and I did. I kept that promise to her. But she hugged me, and she had a little bit tears in her eyes. She wiped some tears, but she had peace. And I just want to encourage you this morning: trust in God with all your heart. Don't lean onto your own understanding. Trust Him. You can do all things through Him who gives you strength. Love you guys. Live life unscripted.